Hey out there, legal warriors. In this video, I'm going to cover the biggest reasons people accidentally end up driving drunk. What do you mean by that? Accidentally driving drunk? Where there's a bunch of myths that I keep hearing in my office about why it is that someone thought they were okay to drive when they really weren't. And I really don't want you to get arrested for accidentally driving drunk. So if you're interested in this area of the law, stay tuned. This is the video for you. My name is Attorney Lance Fryrear. I'm a defense attorney in Lynnwood, Washington. My law firm's been defending people charged with crimes all throughout Washington State for more than 20 years, and I'm putting out these videos to help educate the public. So if you find this useful, please like and please subscribe. More people get to see it. More people get the help they need. Now I'm just going to jump right into it. What do you mean, Lance, by accidentally driving drunk? I mean, we should not drive after consuming any alcohol, and that's really what I say. One drink is too much. But I'm dealing with reality. I have been a defense attorney for almost 25 years. I was a prosecutor for about 7 years, and I used to be the guy that prosecutes people charged with DUI. And I didn't get to talk to people to find out why they thought they were okay to drive when they weren't. But now as a defense attorney, I do. I have thousands and thousands of times I've talked to really good people that are really perplexed that they thought they were good to drive. And it turns out they had a breath test higher than .08. I also happen to have the police officer's portable breath test machine, so I'm a lot of fun at parties. But you'd be surprised the factors that can affect this and have people make unintentional mistakes. I remember a party I was at, and the wife was planning on driving, and I gave her the portable breath test, and she was a 1-1. The guy who had as much or more to drink, I gave him a portable breath test. He was an 0.5. Now, I still told him he shouldn't drive at an 0.5, because remember, 0.8 means we're automatically illegal. I call 0.8 the illegal limit, not the legal limit, because if we're below 0.8, we can still be convicted of DUI if our ability to drive a motor vehicle is affected. Now, I'm getting a little bit far afield there, but let's talk about some of those assumptions, those myths, those mistakes that people make that can lead to a really good person getting arrested for DUI and having your whole life turned upside down. I think the most common one I hear, and this is going to be simple, there's going to be more advanced ones here in a second, is water. Water's the cure-all, right? I drank a bunch of water, I'm okay to drive. And that's what a lot of us think, because when we think about hangovers and dehydration, we hear about it, one drink, one water, one drink, one water. That's the way to feel pretty good in the morning is what some people might say. Well, drinking that water might make you less dehydrated. It might make you feel better in the morning. It might make you pee a little more, which technically could eliminate the alcohol a little bit faster, but it's not really going to work because water doesn't magically erase the alcohol that's in your system, right? It takes so long for the alcohol to get into your bloodstream. And for measuring alcohol content, there's two ways that they do it, and each of them actually does depend on our bloodstream. Even a breath test, this depends on alcohol in our bloodstream, right? A breath test measures how we, exhale breath, from the lungs, and a certain amount of alcohol gets in there from the bloodstream, and they measure that with a laser, and it tells us what our number is. Same way for a blood draw. If you refuse a breath test or they think you have marijuana or something in your system, they'll do a blood draw, and they'll measure it directly from your blood how much alcohol is there. Remember, the breath test is using really fancy calculations. It's making assumptions about your height and weight, your body temperature, all these type of things to estimate what your BAC is. So if you drink a bunch of water, you're going to feel better in the morning, but it will not in any way reduce your breath test. Do not make that mistake. It's the most common one, and so many times I see good people get in trouble for something they didn't intend to do, and they say, well, I drank a lot of water. What's number two? Number two is a little less common, but just as devastating. I've had at least 20 of these cases in my office over the last 20 years. They're less common, but is, hey, I slept it off, so I'm okay to drive, right? I slept overnight. I woke up in the morning. I drove. I must be okay to drive if I went to sleep for 6 or 7 hours. That's not true. Alcohol does not just disappear 100% from your body because you went to sleep. Alcohol is eliminated in our body in different ways. One would be through sweat. One would be through respiration, breathing it out, right? That's how the breath test machine tests things. One would be from peeing it out, right? But we're only going to go down, most people, somewhere, I estimate, as a person who's done this forever, somewhere about 0.01 an hour. Maybe if you're Irish like me, I don't know if it's because I'm Irish, but I might eliminate like 0.02 an hour, right? Because I've got that breath test machine to test it. And let's say you're a 1.9. You don't know you're a 1.9. You're a 1.9 when you went to sleep. You go to sleep for 6 hours. You're still probably a 1.2, a 1.1 when you wake up. And if you drive in the morning, drive in the afternoon, it's not a defense that you drank 18 hours ago. If you're over the limit, you're over the limit. So sleeping it off does not mean that you're magically not going to be arrested for DUI, because there's probably alcohol still in your system if you really tied one on. What's the third thing that I see? And this is the one that's really the most devastating for people. Imagine, you're a firefighter, you're a police officer, you're someone that, has the type of job where you have to drive, and you think you're generally responsible, and you end up with this huge breath test number. Maybe you're a 1.8 or a 2.0, and you have no idea why. And this could be to anyone, but what I see is if we have a lot of food before we go out drinking, what do you notice? If you have food before you drink, you feel drunk later. You don't feel affected so quickly. And there's a scientific reason for that. And that is because if we have food in us, our stomach doesn't let undigested food get into our intestines until the food is digested. And when we drink alcohol, if we've had food in us that's not digested, there's something called a pyloric valve. That valve is shut to keep stuff, undigested food, going from our stomach into our intestines. And alcohol is absorbed through the stomach, but only about 20%. It varies, but I'm just going to say, for sake of argument, 20%. I see different numbers. And that will get through the stomach into the bloodstream, even if that valve is shut, waiting for the food to digest. If we've got fatty food, that stomach lining is coated, it's not going to get through quite as fast. So what's the nightmare scenario? I didn't drive, but something like this even happened to me. Luckily, I was staying at a hotel, right? I wasn't driving, but this is the same situation I could see with clients. Is they have a big meal. I think I went to Benihana, if I remember, and then you go out for a night on the town. And I knew I wasn't driving. I had a hotel. And so I started drinking. I think I had some Greyhounds, right? And I don't drink that very often, and I'm not making these drinks. I'm at a bar somewhere, right? I think I was at a dance club, and I was way too old to be there. But I'm drinking these things, right? And I don't feel anything. It's like, they're not putting any alcohol in these, right? They're not putting any alcohol in these, and I'm just a monster, and I can do it tonight. I'm going to have a few more than I normally do. Now, I wasn't as educated then. This is back when I was just, had just come out of the prosecution. They don't really teach you anything. And, I go to leave the club, and I go to walk home. I take a few steps, and I'm about falling off the curb all of a sudden, right? I mean, I was so more intoxicated than I ever planned. And this happens to people too. So what happens? You have that food, you drink your alcohol, you feel good to drive, you get in the car and drive, and all of a sudden you can't drive. It hits you. Well, what happened there? Well, all that high-test alcohol backs up in your stomach, right? It's just sort of leaching slowly into your bloodstream from the stomach. Now that food digests, that pyloric valve opens, and this freight train of digested food and high-test alcohol, way more than you would normally have, hits your bloodstream all at once. And you might go from an 0.4 to a 2.4, right? And never would have driven if that's how you were feeling at the time. Again, remember, there's no excuse to drive after drinking. These are mistakes people make, though, where they end up being arrested for driving drunk when they didn't think they were drunk. So what are the risk factors there? Well, remember, food before drinking means that we're going to have probably a hit later when that alcohol hits our system. Hard alcohol is particularly tough to predict because if we're not making the mixed drink ourselves, we don't know how much is in there. Those are the risk factors that can go to a really high number. So, we think eating's good, and that moves on, though, to the next belief that is a false belief that can lead you to be accidentally arrested is, hey, I ate after I drank, I must be okay, right? That's That's how often do we hear that, right? We think, oh, I had this alcohol, I'm hungry now. I need to go to Burger King or Taco Bell or McDonald's. I can't tell you, Jack in the Box if you live around here, I can't tell you how many cases I've seen with someone passed out at the Jack in the Box or the Taco Bell, right? More so than the other two. But people, just because you go get food, it might settle your stomach, it might help cure the munchies, but it does zero to change how much alcohol is in your system. What changes alcohol in your system? Time. That's it, right? Your body has to eliminate it. And so eating food after drinking does not mean you're not drunk, okay? Little bit of hybrid now. Let's move on to a couple of other things. What do I often see? Tiredness. Okay. Very consistent. People often mistake tiredness if they've worked a big day. You work at Boeing, you work someone else, you're a software engineer, whatever it might be. Plumber, electrician, you put in your 10-hour day, your 12-hour day, you have a few drinks, and you just feel tired. And that's different than feeling intoxicated. So many times, consistently, I see if someone gets pulled over and they're really confused why their number was high, they say, I didn't feel drunk. I said, well, how many hours did you work? It's always going to be 10, 12, a lot of hours. They confuse the tiredness for drunkenness, right? I'm not drunk, I'm just tired. So that is another one that we need to watch out for and try to avoid. And I think the final thing I want to cover is, I mentioned it to begin with, people eliminate and process alcohol in different ways. Remember, if you're small and tiny, right, the breath test machine is not set up. They don't type in your height and your weight, right? The machine is calculating these equations that comes up with this number that makes us guilty or not based upon some standardized human. Well, if you're smaller and tinier, the way they do these calculations, you're going to have a higher number than if you're bigger. Okay, that has blood volume and there's breath volume and all these factors go into it. But if I were to go out with my partner and we had the exact same amount of IPAs and I give her the breath test, she's 5'5" and 125 and I'm 6'4" and 215, I might blow an O2 and she might blow an O7, right? But we had the same amount of alcohol. So she's more likely to get cited than I am. Because the machine says that she's in worse shape based upon the way it does the calculations. The blood draw is going to be more accurate because it's measuring the blood, right? But as far as the breath test machine goes, it's making assumptions that it can't be adjusted for. And also, I think that it's good to know that different people eliminate at different rates also, like different ethnicities can eliminate at different rates. Certain ethnicities don't have certain enzymes that are necessary. So people that get flushed in the face red may be a sign of that. And so there's lots of these things that makes us feel that it's okay to drive when we're not. So what's the moral of the story? Don't have any alcohol and drive, right? We have Uber, we have mass transit. It's not worth it. It's not worth it to have to pay me to get your license suspended, go do alcohol treatment, all these things, get someone killed, God forbid. We don't want that to happen. But to help make you careful is why I'm putting this video out, so you can understand all these myths that you think, I'm going to be okay to drive. And personally, I look at most DUIs not as a moral issue, but as a medical issue. I look at it as a medical issue because that alcohol is turning off that no center in our brain. And why I want you to hear this video is because I want you to think about what I've said here, and that no center saying, yeah, I'm not a problem, I'm okay to drive, I had water, I had food. Think about what I've said here and make a better decision. So I hope you found that useful. If so, please like and please subscribe. More people get to see it, more people get the help they need, and hopefully more people will avoid getting charged with driving drunk. And if you happen to have a criminal problem in Washington State, you still can reach out to my firm. We've been doing this more than 20 years. If we get on board, we'll listen to what happened, we'll identify a way forward, and we will be there for you. Thank you.